the Twitter announcement. And ladies and gentlemen, we are live on the interwebs. We're here for the weekly TVL show from Beacon DeFi. Happy New Year to everybody. This is our first show since December, 13th. Did I get that right? No, actually, it was Wednesday was Christmas. So 25th. Anyway, I can't do math right now. But it's been like two weeks since we've been on. But have a really awesome guest today. We have Tafik. Did I get your last name right? Adluni? Is that correct?
You got it. Bang on.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Good job.
I appreciate that. We got Tafik here from rennoco Company. And basically, I met Tafik at Salt Lake City at Permissionless. So really quick, just a quick introduction from yourself, Tafik, introducing yourself to our awesome audience here, joining us from around the world.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show and excited to be a part of it. Yeah, so my name's Tafik. I'm the managing partner of a law firm called rennoco. Started the law firm basically right out of the gate when I got called to the bar. Was a lawyer for a little bit, thought that sucked, got depressed, and realized that my passion for Bitcoin, which I was a hobbyist trader enthusiast since 2014, could actually be my my practice, and took off from there.
Awesome. And it's really unique that actually you're a lawyer in this space, because that's not something we see very often, to be quite honest. So, how long have you been practicing law for?
So it's been what is it now? I'm gonna do math wrong. So it's been 7 years.
7 years.
7 years. I got called to the bar in 22nd of December 2017. So
Nice.
yeah, been in it since then. There's a couple of lawyers in the space. Some are good, a lot are bad. I think there's not many, or I'm probably kind of one of the first that I know of who kind of came in and just started their full career in crypto, straight out of the gate, except for that couple of months blip there where I was pulling my luscious hair out. So it was so that was an interesting experience. But there's a lot more people joining it, and we see a lot of students coming through, and they really want to like work with us and stuff like that. There's folks that are really excited to kind of with the intersection of law and blockchain. I think it's really important and necessary, because it's part of the conversation that I find a lot of times is missing. And even online, I find that the way the conversation goes, it's really a lot of times about reactive discussions on this case law, that case law, where we're like, hey, why aren't we putting forward something a little bit more ambitious, a little bit more bold, that marries the technology with kind of legal institutions? That's what I'm kind of most excited about, at least on my end in 2025.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. So thanks for coming on. We're going to take a look at a little bit of what's going on, not only in web, but just, I guess, in the tech sector. Right now, if you are, pretty excited about what's going on in tech right now, is CES, which is the Consumer Electronic Showcase, I believe it's called, out in Vegas. I only just brought this up because it's kind of freaking me out that Samsung has a stretchable OLED screen that may not be OLED, but it's kind of freaking me out that it's doing that. AI is also a huge part of this show. We'll talk a little bit about AI in just a little bit as well. But for anybody who gets to go to Vegas for CES, you're seeing some interesting stuff this year for the first time in a while. I've seen at least 10 to 15 really cool things. A lot of AI powered stuff on the floor this year. So really excited to see that. But
if you guys want to stop by the Hapley booth, my best friend / client is the CEO, and they won the CES Consumer Electronics Show last year for their device.
Nice.
So folks should check it out. Yeah, 3D haptic mouse. It's pretty crazy.
I like that. You said Hapley is the name?
Yeah.
Happily, we'll have to check that out. Well, the one thing that many of you may not want to be checking out today is the markets. We're oh, we're starting to rally back in the last hour. Seeing some green in the last hour, but overall, it's been a little bit of a. Well, I'm calling it a value dip, is what I'm calling it, because there are multiple beta plays that are available. That have fallen the last week at least 8 to 9%. These are ones that I'm specifically looking at. But if we just look at bubbles just on the week, uh, interesting mix of coins that are up on the week. But it's kind of telling because there's a lot of, Murad has been talking so much about SPX, but some of the other big winners are some of these beta plays that, could be worth your time as an investor. It's interesting to see things like Brett and Decentraland still continuing. The dinosaur coins are starting to come back with regards to continuing to have bids on them. Today on the day, though, we're looking at mostly red. And again, for anybody who's watching the markets, specifically the TradFi markets, there's a lot of movement with regards to numbers that haven't been good. That's really contributed to this. And a lot of people have come back into the space after taking 2 weeks off. And a lot of people are probably just thinking it's time to take a little bit of profit due to some people and some indicators pointing that we may possibly go lower over the next week. All part of the ride coming down to the inauguration, to be quite honest. So, Tafik, real quick, just wanted to get your take at all. If you're much of a bidder on this kind of stuff, is this anything outside of the norm in terms of just regular volatility leading up to the inauguration?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's interesting how the markets have been reacting, especially on the TradFi sector, right? And you're seeing actually price to earnings being quite high, in kind of TradFi, and they haven't been this high since kind of the 2005, 2007, and the dot-com bubble era. So some people are considering a correction there. I think there's a lot of volatility around what Trump will do. I think that's also putting a lot of investors on edge. I know from a personal standpoint, I don't know how he's going to move, right? So it's going to be hard to make any kind of smart investment decisions there. And I think crypto is kind of experiencing a bit of that as well, though I think it could be also some sell off from the highs that we had kind of last quarter.
Agreed. So if there's like a coin that you've been eyeing, right now could definitely be a good DCA value buy in, whether it's something like Near,
100%.
something like Hype for Hyperliquid. These are coins that are probably going to be leading the next charge on this next leg up because make no doubt about it, we are going back up. It's all just a matter of what are you going to be exposed to at this juncture to set yourself up for the run ahead. So ultimately, these are all things that are volatile. This is why we've been telling people to not take leverage because we're seeing liquidation cascades everywhere from stuff like this. So essentially, just be careful out there. Just be careful out there. With that said, one thing I wanted to bring up is because I saw this come up with 4 or 5 different articles in the last hour. I don't know. Okay, so I don't know how much time you spent on Twitter over the holiday, Tafik, but there was a very large debate about watches for some ungodly reason. I don't know if people just got watches for gifts, but there is like really heated debates about the type of watch any founder or any, respectable Chad in this space should have.
What should a respectable Chad have? Can we all whip
I
out our
know.
watches and measure them?
That's pretty much what it was. I just sat there, I just laughed because I was like, is this really what's taking up mind share on Twitter right now? But,
Hmm.
people decided to, put out their flexes.
It's
And, for
unfortunate.
it is, unfortunately for Richard Hart, he is just getting taken up and down the street by Finnish authorities right now. So we'll see exactly where this leads to. For those of you who are a supporter of Richard Hart and Hex and Pulse, well, it is what it is. It is what it is. Speaking of, things that is what they are, I want to talk a little bit about our free group, Total Value Locked from Beacon DeFi. This is going to be the year of expansion for us on TVL. We've been pushing our narrative about making DeFi accessible for everybody. This is our free group. Again, skool.com/beacon. Absolutely free to join. Absolutely free to learn. We have a free call every Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, called Beat the Banks. Definitely check it out. And one thing that I definitely want everybody to do as they come in is to check out our Start Here post. That's a lovely message from myself and my co-founder, Andrew. And I want you to check out our Introduction to DeFi course. This is everything you need to learn in order to become a great DeFi investor. Obviously, if you want to learn more, want to get there faster, want to be with the best of the best, we have multiple offerings for that. But check us out, skool.com/beacon. Absolutely free to join. And, it's something we talked about a lot, Tafik in Salt Lake City, the power of education and getting everybody safe and secure is just absolutely paramount, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really easy to kind of fall victims to the scams. And I think the one thing that we got to remember in, crypto in general is that, you're taking back responsibility and control over your financial assets. And that comes with, some downside risk. And that means that you need to be a little bit more kind of DIY, and you have to be able to protect your assets, right? And that's,
Yeah.
And the question is, do you trust yourself to be able to protect your assets sufficiently enough? Or do you trust, banks, financial institutions, or centralized exchanges to do it? And if you're with the former, right, you should put your money where your mouth is and make sure that, you're doing your own research.
Exactly. This is a journey about self-custody. We're hearing stories every day about people who transact crypto getting debanked by major banks, which is ironic because the majority of these banks have crypto presences. So why they're debanking people? Yeah, go ahead.
Did you see the Freedom of Information move that Coinbase did with the FDIC, in which they said that there was actually a concerted effort to be able to enact the choke point 2.0, and that it wasn't just whimsical thinking. And I think that's where it kind of really boils down to is, what do you trust more, right? Do you trust the code? Is the code going to lie to you? Is the code going to cheat you? Is the code going to say one thing here and another thing there? Or do you trust the folks that are managing your central bank, your government, and your commercial banks more than that? So that's the key question you got to ask yourself.
Yeah, this is true, because obviously not financial advice. Do your own research. Everybody has, their philosophy and how they're pilled in this society. So, I like what you said there. You just kind of have to own whatever it is that you believe in.
And I've experienced it on the other end of the spectrum, right? Like, I'm originally from Lebanon, which has went through a whole host of financial problems, with hyperinflation, to banks collapsing, to you not being able to pull out your money from the banks. And there's sad stories, even amongst my family, of people, robbing banks, not to rob other people's money, but to rob their own money, right? It was a true story. Or even like, stories of folks who've saved up 7 years to go to Stanford or whatever, their own cash, not student loan, and the bank just says, sorry, we can't send it anymore. And I was in the Middle East last year, and I was speaking to my aunt. We went out for coffee, and I was like, where do you keep all the cash? And she's like, we keep it under the tiles of the floor, right? And so, and people are like, well, that's Lebanon, it's a developing country, right? But from a systems and structural standpoint, like, thread can go, the thread can go in that direction if a lot of things click the wrong way, and we just need to be really cognizant of that.
Agreed. No, that's sage advice. And yeah, there's a lot of people here. We call it mattress money here in the States. There's a lot of people who don't trust banks. There are people who have jars in the backyard where they store hundreds of thousands of dollars. And ultimately, be aware of how much money you're losing year over year to inflation, whether you keep it inside the banking system, whether you're keeping it alone. Self-custody can be a very powerful thing. You just have to understand the value of your money. So,
and we got to remember as well, and this is something that Michael Saylor says all the time.
yes.
Inflation is subjective, right?
Yep.
It's subjective to you, right? So, you can look at the CPI or the headline indexes, and it may say, "Oh, well, inflation's down 3%, everything's fine." You experience that. That doesn't include asset inflation, right? That doesn't include your ability to purchase a home or buy Apple stock or Nvidia stock, right? If you're a kid, like he said, if you're a kid in the basement, eating pizza and drinking beer, and that's all you get, maybe inflation doesn't matter to you. But if you're, a young family man or a family woman, and you've saved up money and you're trying to build a home, probably inflation matters to you a lot. So.
And you feel it at every level, right? Like I was just talking to my mother-in-law about this yesterday. Eating out is a luxury now for a family, even at McDonald's. We're a family of 6, and it's like $60-$70 to eat at McDonald's. Depending on what everybody wants to get.
And we just got to ask ourselves, is the system working for us, right?
Yeah.
When you see productivity increase tenfold, right? But median salaries staying consistent since the 70s, and you see huge wealth increases to the top 1%, what the hell's going on? Right? What the hell is going on? And how is inflation in this economic system that we are a part of ever since Bretton Woods, how has that affected our ability to have our worth and our productivity paid in a manner so we can live in dignity, right? And at this stage of the game, we can't we can't even enjoy the simple things in life, like eating out at a restaurant. I find that, I find that completely ridiculous that we're even having these types of conversations. And it's not any one, it's all political parties and stripes. It's been, compounding problem for multiple decades. So this ain't a red or a blue thing. This is a systemic thing.
Yeah, we're going to see some changes for sure over the next 4 years. It'll be a matter of if it was good or bad. We'll find out at the end of 4 years. But, yeah, so that's why, honestly, that's a big reason why I think a lot of people are very curious about what they're hearing about, crypto investing, DeFi, digital assets in general. We've had multiple people in our mastermind who've come in from other countries where, they're in a hyperinflationary system and their dollar is not, their currency or fiat currency isn't worth anything. They want something that is anti-fragile and censorship resistant. And they understand the value of programmable money. So, yeah, we're still very early, obviously. And we'll see exactly who wins out, but there's a lot of opportunities for the everyday person to definitely make a little bit of gains to help balance, some of the pain we're feeling at home along the way. We'll go ahead and head back to this other piece of news before we start talking about, what you're doing at Renno and Co, sir. And we'll start with there's an airdrop coming. There's a little bit of alpha for everybody coming out. This is from Dolomite. They are a lending platform, lending AMM. Founders have ties to incoming U.S. President Trump's World Liberty Financial. And they're actually going to be launching a new token for Dolomite really after, not only on Arbitrum, but also mainly on Berachain. That's where the majority of the staking looks like is going to be there. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check out the show notes. It's, of course, available on Total Value Locked for all of our free communities. And if you're a user right now of Dolomite, if you've been collecting minerals, like I've been collecting minerals, we've been doing this for quite some time. You're actually eligible for quite a bit of this airdrop. I think it's 9%. They've already taken the snapshot, so don't worry about trying to farm it now. It was January 6th was the cutoff, but the token supply, should be interesting with the TGE, the token generation event, happening after Berachain launches. So, of course, they haven't given a date for that, and that's kind of the running joke of Berachain that they're launching in Q5 of 2024. and we'll see what happens here. Tafik, I don't know if you use a whole lot of protocols in DeFi, specifically anything like Dolomite, but yeah, do you have any people that you're in your circle who talk a lot about airdrops?
I do talk a lot about airdrops, mostly from the legal and regulatory compliance standpoint.
There we go.
But we did, I did a bit of airdrop farming back in the day, and that was pretty fun. But it's kind of one of these things where, there's only so much time in the day.
Yeah, that's true. No, absolutely. There's only so much time in the
Think
day.
about getting that Solana phone though, and you just get them sent to you, which is
I have done that. I actually have not put that in the agenda, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because right now the let's go to play Solana. The PSG1. I don't know if you've seen this device. It's a I don't know if you'd call it a Game Boy, but it has a hardware wallet built in, which is pretty cool. They have sold their first 3,000 devices. You can get this for less than $300, and you will absolutely, of course, not financial advice. There's enough airdrops here that you hopefully should be able to recoup the cost of the device. Same with the Solana phone, which is the Solana Seeker. I've invested in getting both. So if you're interested in something like this, the Solana Seeker is $500. This is less than $300 with different coupons that are out there. And again, are you going to use the phone? Probably not. It's probably not the best one. All it has Web3 and wallets and stuff built in. But something like this, I love the idea of being able to use there was an older project. I just looked at it the other day that's not around anymore, called Game Wallet. And basically Game Wallet took an old Game Boy, and they actually took cartridges and turned them into hardware wallets, which is a really cool idea. So it's like you can have multiple hardware wallets by just putting the cartridges in. And of course, they'd have to manufacture the cartridges, but it didn't last, unfortunately. It's probably about a year and a half old now, the project. But yeah, just the idea that you can use these physical devices as hardware wallets. Clearly, this is much better packed than the original Game Boy, but you'll be able to play games. You'll be able to probably even use something like Jupiter Mobile or something like that on this device to swap coins if need be. But anyway, yeah, if you're looking for something to look into for airdrops, this one might be it.
It's funny you bring that up, because I was actually looking to buy kind of one of those Game Boy simulators that has like 1,000 games on it.
Yep.
Because sometimes I'd rather just play some Mario Kart to unwind the brain than scroll the news or whatever. So, but yeah, and yeah, the Solana phone may not be great, but it's a good idea not to keep your crypto on your phone that you carry around with you. So
yeah, that's true.
So the 2-phone system is not a bad idea.
Yeah, and I love this. This thing has a fingerprint sensor as a second factor. So anything we can do to kind of keep everything good, take away rather abstract the complexity of a current hardware wallet like a Trezor or a Ledger, into something with like biometrics is always good. We love that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, what I did want to get your take on is this is something that has really blown up over the last 2 weeks since we've been talking. We've been covering AI agents, since the beginning. In our mastermind, we've been on virtual since day one. We've been in our mastermind, we've talked about a lot of AI agents, and a lot of our members have done very well. But mindshare right now is on these AI agents. You can go to a website like cookie.fund, for example, for research, and just check out all of the different, and these are major, more than one $10 million market cap agent coins out there right now. AIXBT, one of the best analysis posters on social media right now. If you're looking for an actual account to give you really good analysis on things, AIXBT is goated on stuff like that. And ultimately, we're seeing a lot of utility here from, my personal favorite, which are like hedge funds, like Citadel from Griffain, DAOs.world. There's other things out there that are also building hedge funds like Vader from Virtuals, for example. We have interesting utility from some of these specific agents, like from Creator.bid, DKing, which is DraftKing. It's doing sports betting. There's news scraping bots, chart analysis. Trading is obviously something that a lot of them do, especially Griffain. Griffain, that's something you just pay one Solana for and you can test it out to do copy trades and all that kind of stuff. We're seeing a lot of interesting applications. I just saw one the other day. There's one called CPA that's doing taxes, and there's one called CERTIC, CERTAIK, which is doing smart contract auditing. All of these are just starting to become autonomous agents. So, yourself being in the legal field, Tafik, I wanted to kind of get your thoughts, and of course, I'm sure you have NDAs with a lot of clients that may already be building stuff like this. But yeah, what are your thoughts about AI and DeFi and just crypto investing in general?
Yeah, well, look, I think decentralized AI is the future. I think it's the future much more broadly than just the future of, crypto in specific. I think it's the future of humanity in general. I don't think we're going to be able to survive in the way in which we live today if AI is not decentralized. Um, AI will create productivity for all of us until at a certain point it will kill your productivity when the frontier of automation completely automates your job. And if you don't think that the centralized corporations that are front running to build this super intelligent AI are not going to take your job, well, you have a real awakening coming. We've seen it with Facebook, with, for instance, their, either nonchalantness around their algorithm inciting violence and other sorts of things, um, to increase user engagement, therefore their own profits. We see it with Tesla in Uber trying to build self-driving cars, basically to kick out the drivers. And even with yourself, right? Just think about yourself. Would you rather, use me or use, a super intelligent AI as a lawyer? Probably the super intelligent AI, right?
I don't
And
know, man.
well, it's a debate, but at the end of the day, you're probably going to use, even for creative design, copywriting, right? Um, there's a lot of jobs. There's a couple of jobs that are really close to the frontier of automation here. Other jobs may be a bit harder. I know that for doctors and lawyers, we're at high risk, but we do have regulatory capture in a sense because you got to be a human lawyer called to the bar to practice law. And we've seen guidance in other kind of situations, for instance, in with regulated financial professionals around their usage of AI, and we can kind of extrapolate how that would happen for us, where you can use AI, but you always need like a human on the switch there to kind of give the last, yeah, this is good type of thing. Um, but I always say about regulatory barriers is that it's only a matter of time, right? Regulatory barriers are arbitrage to what's going to be a huge movement in the market. And if we don't rally around us collectively, if we don't rally around some sort of vision in which we can use the benefits of AI, right, to remove us from, this, this economic structure in which we are working more than we've ever worked before. We're more in debt than we've ever been indebted before. And we don't have time to live, to experience, to love, to enjoy our families, our friends. That's bullshit, right?
Yeah.
That's not what any of us signed up for. So this is the way out. This is our ability to delegate, a lot of this cognitive function and productivity function over to the AI and allow us to do what's our comparative advantage. And what's that? What's the one thing that the AI will never be able to do? It's never going to have a carbon-based body, right? And that carbon-based body is an information system in and of itself, right? It feels, if you listen to your gut, what is that, right?
Yeah.
And we're just tapped out. We've been in this 100-year cycle since we've invented the construct of the meritocracy, where it's all been about cognitive excellence, right? IQ tests, standardized tests, grades. It's all been about your cognitive ability. But that's not human. And that's why we all feel shitty right now, is because the economy is trying to force us to be robots. But we're not robots, we're sapiens. And so I'm excited to be able to re-experience our sapienness with this AI, but it has to be shared. It has to be shared amongst all of us. And if not, we're going to see one of the largest wealth transfers in human history. And I think this is where everyone really needs to wake up, because this is the issue here, and it's not far away as we may think, right? I think the AGI, which is the artificial general intelligence, which is kind of the super intelligence I was speaking about, who knows? They may find a roadblock. Maybe they'll have some resource constraints, energy constraints. That doesn't stop them from doing it. Who knows? But if things go the way they, the Anthropics and the Googles and the Open AIs want to go, right? This is happening in the next 5 years.
Oh, I think it's sooner than that, my friend. I think you hit a lot of things that specifically hit me, right here in the feels, because, like yourself, I am a founder who spends a lot of time, in this space, just trying to gather information for people, and being able to have tools like AI, like specifically in your field, the ability for an AI agent to just know regulatory precedent, regulatory data, to be able to just query that. And, because you may forget something, the AI most likely will not. And in this world, at least, a lot of things that are done in terms of judgments are based on precedents. They're based on information that's available. Whether or not there's a misinformation play, you can make the argument either way. It's more about, from a precedent standpoint, what's going to have the right analysis to make sure that we're getting, the right information, we're getting the right decisions, and having it being owned by 4 big companies is, like you said, something we definitely don't want. They're front running us right now. But the one thing I had dystopian, exactly. But the one thing that I had specifically here is this is argument. And the one thing that's a new wrinkle to the AI agents is that now they have piping, they have plumbing, right? They have APIs they can call. There are multiple that use BitTensor now, multiple that use ELIZA, some of these other architecture they've been building over the last month, 2 months, 6 months. But now they have something that is, they have persistence, they have memories. And that's going to be the one thing that's going to be huge moving forward, I think, at least on the decentralized side, because they already have that at Claude. I can talk to Claude right now, and it has the ability to store, information in its projects API and its database. They have all of that I can just go back and just call back upon if needed. That's already saved in a persistent manner. We don't really have that here in at least in the DeFi AI space, but we will be soon. So this will be interesting. This will be a big part of what's going on, because being able to just, most of these bots are just shitposter bots that just regurgitate stuff on Twitter, right? Or Farcaster, whatever you want to call it. This actually has memories that can actually call on cache storage, stuff that's going to be very interesting moving forward. And the fact that this is immutable is actually, I don't know how I feel about that, but it could be good, specifically for, what is real, what is AI generated. Being able to have that here so that there's there's verifiable proof, undisputable proof that something was said by somebody at some time. Again, trust and truth are 2 different things in this system. Just the ability of having that storage there is going to be key for a lot of these AI agents moving forward. So I would say from, what takeaways to come out here, AI agency coming a long way over the last month, and they have more tools in the toolbox and more tricks up their sleeve to probably make it to you as an investor a very valuable tool on how you're going to make it in this cycle. So kind of keep that in mind. I do want to be respectful of your time, Tawfiq. I know that you have a hard stop, so I definitely want to move on to, talking more about you and your journey here and things that we talked about in Salt Lake City that I definitely want the group to know about. So I just want to end on this real quick, which is Ethdenver. You can go out and go to ethdenver.com/tickets. Hopefully you'll be there, Tawfiq. Would love to hang out with you and have a couple meals with you out in Denver. This is the spiritual birthplace of Beacon DeFi. This is one of my favorite conferences in the world. It's the largest one in North America, possibly the world. It happens every year, end of February. And if you want to be a part of it, sign up for tickets. It's also the largest hackathon in the world with their Bidathon event. And if you're a Sporkdown member like myself and many people in our community, you get to go for free. So if you want to be one of those people who goes there, whether if you volunteer or if you become a Sporkdown member, definitely join us there. We would love to see you there. I'll be doing in-person consultations. I'll be doing a workshop. You can also, of course, walk the floor. Make sure you pack another suitcase so you can get all the swag that you can handle coming back. So are you going to be going to Denver, Tafik? I just want to make sure.
I'm on the fence. It's 50-50 now. I'm just kind of gearing up about my implication with kind of the one of the side events, which I'm kind of currently getting involved with. So
Okay.
you guys, if I do come out, I'll tell everyone, hopefully for them to come out to the side event with the Decentralized AI Institute that we're hosting. Yeah.
Nice. Well, if you're looking for any co-hosting on that, feel free to let me know. We're looking to, if anybody who's listening to this is looking for co-hosting, we are looking to co-host something. So, yeah, let's talk offline about stuff like that. Well, anyway, I want to go ahead and put the highlight back on you. This is rennoco.com. This is your corporate website. You have a lot of great clients specifically in this space. So I just wanted to give you a quick moment to really just talk about, how you got started in Web3, the value of Renno & Co. here in the space, and the value of having legal representation or at least some access to it as a person here in this space.
Yeah, for sure. So like I kind of alluded to, backgrounds from Lebanon. So, economic, related strife was always close to mind, even when I moved to Canada. And we, I did my econ minor, and then Bitcoin came, and I was hooked. I understood its use case immediately, and then became a lawyer, and found that shitty, and then started Renno & Co. shortly afterwards, so I can work with crypto clients, because for me that was just the joy, right? The joy was, using legal services to advance the adoption of blockchains. I always said, if I can just build the pathway to success for these companies to, each one of them slowly but surely changes the needle, right? Then that's my contribution to the ecosystem, right? So that's really been the joy of what I've been able to do, and kind of bring forth to the clients, is kind of this purpose that I don't really give a damn about the money. Like I was never money motivated. I didn't become a lawyer because I was money motivated. I became a lawyer because I was an activist, right? I was in politics. And one of the things that turned me off when I got to law school was how intellectually lethargic everyone was. I came to law school thinking I was going to have these deep, big debates about human rights, and the future of states, and just kind of talk about big ideas. And next thing you know, I hear people talking about salaries and offices of these fancy law firms, and views, and their clothes or their purses or whatever. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. And that was disconcerting. But that's kind of indicative of why I don't like lawyers in general, is because I think it's all misguided, I would say, motives. So we've been able to kind of work with a lot of clients in a lot of areas, and we're a fairly sizable firm now. With kind of all lawyers part time included, we're about 18 at the moment, and so it's been a real founder's journey. I started this by myself. First year, made $29,000, and hustled. Like
Love it.
really hustled for it. So it's nice that it actually worked, because hell, I don't know if there's any other founders out there, but it's hard. And
Oh yeah.
and yeah, so it's hard, and it's I find it really hard being kind of the CEO of a law firm, but also a practicing lawyer, because CEOs just do management strategy. I still gotta work with clients and be one of the contributing directly to the productive output of the firm. But yeah, so what do we effectively do? Well, we help crypto companies go from their current status to where they need to go, right? Most notably, if you have a DApp, a platform, any project with a token component, um, DeFi exchange, centralized exchange, we can help you, first of all, figure out, what is your setup based upon your parameters, right? Do you stay onshore in the US? Do you go somewhere offshore? And we kind of, our value add is we got no fight in any jurisdiction. We're not on sales mode for this jurisdiction over that jurisdiction. We're just consistently monitoring the jurisdictions and trying to get kind of best value and price for client there. And yeah, we help them. We really take them through the stages of the process. So from like ideation, setting up the corps and stuff like that, all the way to TGE and decentralization afterwards. Um, and we've been very kind of active in the decentralization space, where we're, working with, our partners, Decent DAO, where we have a DAO kind of GC as a service, where we're marrying kind of that code and law together to allow for folks to be able to manage their DAOs in a much more streamlined and regulatory compliant um, manner. So that's kind of been the experience there. But we also got a lot of practices at the firm. We got an MSB registration practice and an ongoing compliance practice for fintechs and payment processors. We've got a great M&A and IP practice. We got a securities regulatory practice if you need to get registered, with any of the securities commissions here in Canada. So yeah, no, that's kind of the whole host of what we do here. So what's nice is that the whole firm is Web3 focused, right? It oscillates, but for the whole firm, it's about right now it's closer to, I would say, 90% of the clients are in at least crypto or fintech in general, and it has never dipped lower than 70%. Like even back when we had the crash in 2018, and I was just like, if you had a face, I would take you as a client. We didn't even dip, we didn't dip that low.
No, that's awesome. We need more companies like you in this space. The one question I was curious about is, so I'm curious, your thoughts on having virtual metaverse-like practices. Is that viable? In your opinion, will that be a viable way to go in the future? Specifically, as we start seeing, like, for example, Argentina and Buenos Aires, digital citizenship now is available where they just give you your data. They have no idea what you're going to do with it. So now people have control over their own citizenship data, their ID numbers and stuff like that. So they could really just take their business anywhere while still being a citizen of Buenos Aires. So, stuff like that. Like I also talked to like a couple doctors who were interested in having virtual practices, and you just pay in crypto. They have specific insurance type of levers. So if you wanted to, if you own your own data, that type of thing. We're obviously still very early to this, but do you see a viable model like that in the future for a company like yourself or for other law firms that are out there?
Yeah, for sure. Funny that you bring up the metaverse. I haven't spoken about it for a while, but for a while I was doing whole manner of deals in the metaverse, and I was kind of the go-to guy at one point. Funny enough, we did kind of the largest acquisition in metaverse history. It made the New York
Oh,
Times, which was great, with Metaverse Group. Yeah, I was the first guy to get a law firm office, at least in Canada, in Decentraland. We got one in Upland. We
nice.
had a fucking swanky office in Decentraland too. But yeah, the way I look at it is I always go back down to first principles, right? And I
Yeah.
say, I always go, what's the first principle? Is that dematerialization is going to win out, right? We've seen that since day one. Anyone who's fought against dematerialization, has lost, right? From the, look at the newspaper as a perfect example. Um, and what is the metaverse other than, a communication system, no different than the one we're using right now, right? But the one we're using right now, I'm looking at a visual 2D picture of you, and I'm listening to your audio, and that's all I'm getting, right? But if I'm getting an immersive, you know, communication experience where I'm actually, there's so much more information being sent back and forth, that's going to win out in effect over this. Just like this won out over conference calling, like conference calling won out over telegraph, phones and telegraphs and snail mail and whatever, right? Like, so I just see it as a continuation, and let's not forget the fucking facts. Like, and so it's been just a continuation of this dematerialization of 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 our broadly speaking, but also of our communication systems in general. So yeah, I see it's going to take a while. I think when we see kind of these new tech adopt, it's very easy to just discount it, but people always forget how long it takes for technology to be adopted. The
Yeah.
first submarine was built and invented in the early 1800s. It was first put to commercial use in the Civil War in 1856. The first time a fax machine sent a fax was when Abraham Lincoln was alive, right? And the first time faxes were actually widespread used was in 1961, right? Or in the 60s, basically. So, my friends, like, it takes a while. It takes a while for these things to adopt. And you can be, you can write the obituaries for clickbait all you want, but I just go back to first principles, and it's clear as day for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I just want to kind of ask one more question, and that's really just uh, a lot of our group. We have a lot of business owners. We have a lot of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people who are curious about getting into this space specifically just for investing. What should a lot of our investors be considering for safety and security from a legal perspective?
From a legal perspective, is a good question. I was thinking from a security optics perspective
We can
is
go both
different.
ways, either way.
Well, I'll do the legal one because I think that one is actually probably less talked about, right?
Yeah.
And to steal a line, from a well-known lawyer in the space, Drew Hicks. Not your keys, not your legal title, not your legal title, not your Bitcoin, right?
There you go.
Yeah. So, and I think that aptly summarizes kind of what you need to kind of consider when you're looking at certain things, right? Number one, if you're doing any types of trades, ensure that you're reading the T's and C's in which you're kind of purchasing things on, because you want to make sure that there is an assignment of asset rights of a certain sort to you, right? It may not be abundantly clear, especially on kind of the major exchanges. If you're doing OTC deals, right, something maybe a lot of folks aren't doing, it's going to be a lot more clear. With NFTs, especially NFTs, there's an implicit right of sale, but what does that contain? Is it the NFT? Is it the digital resource that's associated with that NFT? What are you
Right.
getting? Are you getting a license? Are you getting an assignment as it's yours? Can you reproduce it? Can you make money off of it? So there's a lot of, I would say, contours around what it is that you're exactly purchasing. And especially if you're purchasing things for large amounts, you should probably double check that. I would say with any kind of centralized exchange that is custodying your assets, I would say you need to read very, very carefully the terms of service. What we've seen with Celsius and BlockFi, especially with their earn accounts, right, is that the earn accounts, the way the T's and C's were labeled, and this was really kind of what the hat tipped it for in favor of the creditor's estate against the holders, is that there was a clear transfer of right, title, and interest in the assets that were being deposited into the earn account, and judge was like, "Hey, sorry guys, this is what you signed up for, so that's not your money," right? And a lot of us ate a bunch of shit because of it, and that sucked. Trusting centralized exchanges is another thing. I just think they're just kind of a swap in of whatever we got, in the centralized banking world. But that's just my opinion. But I would say that you really need to read really carefully about that, because especially if you're using someone to custody your own assets and your own private key, you need to really understand what does that exactly mean, because sometimes it's not very clear, and those agreements are sometimes very much written in their favor. And I would only trust a couple of wallets really to hold, even kind of like small amounts, whatever. But like if you're holding any type of bag, like there's only a couple of guys that I would put my trust in.
Hear it from Tafik. If you don't want to hear me talk about it for months on end, hear it from Tafik. The man's a lawyer. I mean, we talk about this all the time. Not your keys, not your crypto. And yeah. And does it not make common sense? Of course, companies are going to have agreements written by good GCs to have contracts always written in their favor. They have a fiduciary responsibility to have it that way, right? They don't want to be on the losing end of any type of legal challenge that they, have to pay out claims. That would be just in poor faith of the business and overall. So,
100%. And I think just getting into crypto and then kind of assigning your key control over to someone else, like I said, you're just swapping in for out, right? There's no different than what you're doing currently in the current financial system. So,
right.
If you want to get into this and you really want to take ownership of your own financial independence, where you say, I have, by hook or by crook, right? If Trezor goes belly up and the whole world gets nuked, as long as you have their open source script, you can still access your, to update stuff, you can still access your crypto, right?
Yeah.
So from that perspective, that's full empowerment there, but you got to take that's a responsibility on you. And we have a custom in the crypto community, and that's DYOR, right? You have to take that responsibility because that's part of the ethos of it. So if you don't like that, then you just say, hey, you want to stay in the way things are and have guys manage your money and have inflation go crazy and invest in stocks that look like they're doing well, but really when you factor in all the quantitative easing, inflation, blah, 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 you actually are probably just where you were, then go right ahead. But that's not the ethos here.
Exactly. Well, I know you have to run, so I just want to definitely thank you for your time. Anything you want to pitch, feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think folks can give me a follow on Twitter. I'm not that active, but I'm going to be more active very shortly. I had to mentally heal myself from Twitter to get back on it. I hope many of you understand. And yeah, if anyone wants to reach out and chat about their projects and how we can help, I'm happy to take that call and see how we can make your stuff a reality.
Fantastic. Well, Tafik, it was good to have you. Would love to have you back on again sometime soon. Really enjoyed the talk. I'm looking forward for our paths to cross again.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Cheers. I'm going to keep going with the show while I know Tafik has to kind of drop off. I have a couple things in our call for help section. And this is where we answer your questions, right? So if you have questions, put it in our Total Value Locked group. If you literally just have a question that you may not know the answer to, feel free to ask our community. We have a fantastic community of thousands of people, that are here in our group now, and we're continuing to build. We're looking to blow, everything out of the water with regards to how many people we're having in our group. So please, if you're if you're interested at all in joining our community, it's absolutely free. I'm building a community full of action takers. We're here to take back, our keys and get our own gains, right? Simple as that. Just to preface, we're not a trading group. A lot of people come in thinking they're going to learn trading. We're not a trading group. Why? Because 95% of traders lose money. We are here to teach you our system of how we've been able to, create passive revenue streams, growth, protection of wealth, all of that good stuff all together. Trading's a part of it, sure. Buying a coin on exchange, decentralized or centralized, whichever. That we have multiple members in our group who are still day traders, who are equities traders, that type of thing. They see the value in decentralized finance as a fantastic, well-adjusted risk return. That's a great way to diversify your portfolio. We do have a boot camp coming up on, or rather a masterclass, on January 18th. If you're interested in that, feel free to. I think Andrew will be having a post on TVL today regarding that. Of course, you can always just check out. Let's see, a couple of things we have going on. We'll have a post on it on TVL though. Again, it's completely free to join. Feel free to do so, and that is at skool.com/beacon. So we do have some questions, and I'll go ahead and answer them. And I'll be honest, they all have the same answer. So from JD, I'd like to know what crypto platforms we would be using to get into LP pools or liquidity provision pools and yield farming. From AJ, how does this all work? From Judith, how to be a successful crypto investor to receive amazing profits. From Alex, what is the entire process to identify successful projects? And from Scott, how to find coins before they explode in price. What are some of the best coins to invest in? Guys, I think you know the answer. It's here at Total Value Locked. Whether you go into our introduction to DeFi section, or if you just want to attend our free trainings every Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. All of our recordings for the TVL show are here, by the way, so you can get our fantastic panels that we've had every week since December 2021. But for Beat the Banks, we've been doing this, since, Black Friday of 2023. We've had Beat the Banks for longer, since January 21, but these trainings that are now here on Total Value Locked, it's just sub-branded Beat the Banks, by the way. This is free, and we have them every week, Friday. And we have, dozens of trainings where we cover all of these topics that people are asking the questions for. So the information's out there. Come and consume it. Our best investors in our mastermind and all of our communities, the way they got there is by consuming everything we have. If you're really passionate about something, you're going to read up on it, right? Please do yourself the favor. This is all out there on our free group. Check it out, and you'll become, a fantastic investor on chain and in DeFi. If you have friends who are curious, because you've heard about World Liberty Financial from Donald Trump and his family. Trump has more than $50 million in DeFi now, by the way. So I'm hoping we're going to get some pro-DeFi, pro-crypto legislation and executive orders coming our way, whether it be with taxes, whether it be on realized or unrealized profit, anything like that. Hoping that we do get some good stuff on from that. So anyway, thanks for joining us today. We'll have another great panel next week. I already have people lined up for the next couple months until we get to Ethdenver. And again, if you want to join us at Ethdenver, ethdenver.com/tickets. Definitely check it out. Come and join us there. Even if you just want to walk the floor with me, happy to do that. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, they have a large, bigger than most airports floor. And I'm assuming it's going to be at the same spot at the Western Expo. But it's a gigantic, you're going to see more than 20 to 25,000 people every day on the floor, multiple booths. I want to say at least 200 booths. When I was talking about swag, I mean it. There's tons of swag. So if you don't want to take some of the swag I have from like another year, of Ethdenver, feel free to come and get your own. And you can walk the floor. You can walk with me when I meet protocols, tell them what Beacon DeFi does in terms of education, in terms of making DeFi accessible to everybody, and ask your questions. These are all good ways to learn, good ways to immerse yourself in DeFi, because a lot of people will walk the floor. They don't know what to ask. Walk with me. I know exactly what to ask. And you can see if it's something that you may want to be involved in, whether from, just being in Web3, or if it's something you want to put in your allocation with regards to your investments. So with that said, thanks so much. We'll see you next week, 1 p.m. Eastern, of course, every Wednesday here on our Twitter as well as our YouTube channel. Thanks again to our Beacon family members, our Beacon Mastermind members, and of course our members of our Beacon Accelerator for our helping make all of this possible. We'll see you next week. 07, Beacons up, banks down. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.